All right, Nate, looking at the Western Conference game here, we have on Tuesday night, Mavs headed back to Phoenix, knotted things up at 2. Big swing, really, in what we saw from games 1 and 2, games 3 and 4. A ton of differences, whether you want to contribute that to home road splits between these Mavs and Suns, or just really, the Mavs maybe surprising the Suns. Obviously, CP3 and his performance in game 4 was critical in how many fouls he got, et cetera. But now we're looking at a series where the Mavs are plus 190 to win it. The Suns, you can get plus 172 in 6. And just a couple of series odds there. And then, you look at this game here, game 5, Phoenix minus 6.5 now back at home with a total of 213.5, which easily went over in those first 2 games. So do we believe in those splits, right? Is this going to sort of revert back to what we saw in games 1 and 2? How are you playing game 5 here?
I mean, more than the splits, I believe in Phoenix responding to getting punked to a degree by this blitzing defense and rallying behind Chris Paul after what happened to his family in the stands. I mean, which is like an issue that I don't think any players have problems getting riled up about, is the fact that these entitled rich front row fans are calling them everything but a child of God, like as if they paid a bunch of money so that they can verbally abuse you all day and then to cross the line and actually like put hands on your family. Like, I can't imagine a team that's going to be more motivated now, let alone the fact that they're going back home and they need to get back on track in the series, win game 5. So I'm looking at all sorts of ways to bet the Suns to come out strong and just win. And you can get the first quarter money line with the win at about even money. You can get them to score 57 at half, even money again, and slightly worse odds, but 110 for the game. I think they're going to get there. There's a stark difference in their home road splits on the season and the playoffs, as you mentioned. I mean, on the season as well, but in the playoffs, yeah, they're scoring 117 per game at home. They absolutely lit up the Mavs in these first 2 at home. And it's not as if they couldn't adjust to the game 3 adjustment that Dallas pulled out, which was just blitzing Chris Paul and Booker. Got a lot of turnovers, but in game 4, they did kind of adjust. They just didn't hit their threes. And of course, CP3 with the foul trouble did not, play more than 25 minutes. So that's going to hurt your offense down the stretch. They still got 101. Like, I think they're getting 110 in this game for sure. I think CP3 is getting over 16.5 points. And you get juicy odds. I mean, he's averaging 23 points per game in these 5 home playoff games. For him to get his 23 in a win is plus 520 at FanDuel. It's not like we talked about it with Jose Alvarado, holding him to 4 last series. What do you do the next two games? He came out and basically didn't miss a shot. Reggie Bullock is not going to clamp him down all game. And the Suns are going to rally around him. Like, I think that I feel very confident here that the Suns are going to score more. Well, we go back to Phoenix, where the pace was 5 possessions faster in these first 2 games, where the Suns shot 65% in one game. And then you look at the Mavs, their defense just has not traveled, especially in these playoffs. A 121 defensive rating versus 105 at home. The pace 3 possessions faster. They're getting fewer free throws, turning it over more. That's the key, I think, here, that Phoenix will turn them over and get out. 10 turnovers per game for the Mavs on the road these playoffs, and Phoenix taking care of the ball very well at home. So I think that margin, combined with the fact that the Suns have out-rebounded them and outscored them in the paint every single game in the series. So, like, what's sustainable? The Mavs shooting 50% from 3 or 45%, whatever they shot last game, taking that on the road, or the Suns just continuing to get the high percentage looks they want and win the battle on the boards. I think Phoenix wins here and gets over all their point totals.
Yeah, what's more, at this point how I feel about, I believe in the theory that these role players play better on the road in the playoffs, especially at home, or during the regular season. You can make the case however you want. Things even out to a degree over the course of 82 games, 41 in each location. You can still have couple point differentials in terms of your, player stats on the road versus at home. But in the playoffs, it becomes a big deal, especially because you see these role players' stats drop on the road, and you see these star players, like the real true superstars on the road, you see their stats go way up. Starting with Luka in this game, that's kind of where I look. He's unbelievable on the road at this point. In these playoffs alone, on the road so far, he's just absolutely dominated, only failing to score 30 points one time in the 4 games he's played, 35, 45, and 30 points with, a bunch of double-digit rebound games in there, averaging about 7.5 assists as well. He's just doing it all. He loves playing in Phoenix, which is wild. I mean, against Phoenix in general, his last 6, dating back to earlier this season, he's averaging better than 30, 9 and 8. But in his last 6 on the road against Phoenix, dating back the last couple seasons, we're talking about 35 a game, 8 boards and 7 assists. So he loves playing on the road in Phoenix against since they've been as good as they've been, dating back to the beginning of last season. And I continue to believe in that, as he's also got those splits on the road in general in these playoffs, as he's just gone, pretty ballistic, averaging about 5 more points a game on the road than at home, knowing once again he's got to drag these guys across the line. That said, I wouldn't be opposed to a few unders for some of these role players, as we're talking about. Certain guys like Finney Smith averaged 3 points less a game on the road, and then you even talk about Reggie Bullock as well, I was trying to eye as well. He's been hitting his threes at home, slightly less on the road, etc. Even Jalen Brunson, to a degree, at home right now, averaging 7 more points a game, 20 a game on the road. I think you consider an under for him, where his prop sits at about 21.5 or so tonight. I would prefer an under for him and still get those overs for Luka. And even with Luka getting those overs, I still feel good. I mean, I would prefer the Suns winning by 7 tonight before I took the Mavs. I'm really not too terrified of that. I actually just love the total even more. I wouldn't be surprised if you get 25 point games from both Chris Paul and Devin Booker, or at least 20 from CP3, 25 from Book. Plus, I think we're going to get some offensive explosion from both of them tonight. And then just continuing the theory, it applies to the Suns as well. Certain guys playing way better at home than on the road. Even Chris Paul, even though that's a little against what I'm saying, Chris Paul at home has been 7 points better in these playoffs than he has been on the road. Book as well, 5 points better. So pretty much everybody for the Suns, because that's what they're doing at home. We see those 117 points, almost 118 points a game at home in the playoffs, 105 on the road. So obviously this is applying to stars and role players alike, that you just know you're getting a ton more points from the Suns when they're playing at home right now. And I think you continue to feel good about that. Same for Dallas's defense, giving up fewer points at home, more points on the road. 213.5 in Phoenix is wrong. I think this is a different series than the one that we saw in Dallas. And we said that when we were watching it in Phoenix in the first 2 games. We're not betting an under until we get to Dallas. Then we're very happy to take those unders. We're back in Phoenix. It's a different series. It's not the same. These teams play differently on the road, at home. We have it all season long, and we definitely have it very stark contrast in the playoff, enough to be able to go, yeah, I feel very, very good about over 213.5. And however else you want to bet the Sun to increase your juice there, go for it, because I'm not scared of 7 points for them at home.
Yes, 71 points for the Suns in the second half of game 2 at home on 70% field goal shooting, compared to 45 in this last game with CP3 mostly on the bench. I think we'll see much closer to that outburst down the stretch. So if they don't come out strong, I think there's still a chance they pull away in the third quarter. There's definitely a world here where the Suns win by double digits and Luka scores 30, like you're saying. I mean, there is a correlation between Luka carrying his team and everybody else not doing anything, and then the Mavs winding up down double digits, because you got to involve everybody else. You got to get some contribution across the roster, and it just hasn't been there on the road against good teams. I'm not really saying that what they did at Utah at times, which was mostly just slow the game way down so that each possession is more valuable. The more possessions you get into with Phoenix down the stretch, the more trouble you're going to get into. And as the home team, they can dictate that pace to a degree, pull away down the stretch. I think you can use the tease here to get the total down to 209 than the Suns at -2. I think if Phoenix wins, it's probably going to be double digits again. So might look at an alternate line if you want that extra juice. But I think the safest play is those team totals for the Suns. Yeah. We don't know if Dallas is going to respond to getting hit in the mouth, but we do feel pretty confident that Phoenix is going to come out swinging after the way that Game 4 went.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's the play right there. The the Phoenix team total at what we say 110.5. We just told you they're averaging 7 more points a game than that. I consider putting those together there. The over 110.5 for the Suns, plus their money line, or even just taking their 6.5 points, as we said. I would consider it, man. I mean, I would still feel pretty good about getting that there and adding a little bit extra, however you wanted to do that with the Suns scoring, whomever you like scoring. Definitely the two stars, 8.5 assists right now for CP3. I think he's going to be all over the place. However you want to do it, points and assists combined, however you want to get there with him. I think, Nate, Dr. Revenge is always on it. And this is definitely a motivated game, a game that you will see a motivated CP3. And I think the same thing can be said for Devin Booker, who's got a nasty edge to him that people don't really recognize. He's definitely a shit talker. He's got, like I said, a competitive, nasty edge to him, almost similar to certain guys like Kobe, et cetera. So, at any rate, that is all the time we have for you in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. We've also got some player props up for you as well for tonight's games. So until we see you next, happy betting.